This episode will cover Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 1, lines 70 to 78. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life, for who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of disprized love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, and the spurns that patient merit of the unworthy takes, when he himself might his quietus make with a bare bodkin. The respect or consideration of the unknown state of death makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others we know not of. Thus conscience does make cowards of us all, and calamity or adversity so long lived, as opposed to quickly ended in suicide. Life is then seen as a confinement, almost like one of Dante's circles in hell, complete with mental whips and scorns. And people just go around and around enduring the pain. It is man's cosmological fate, and Hamlet is looking at its structure and elements, from the whole, the laws, the bureaucrats, corrupt political economy, and from within, the facial expressions, the scornful abuse, the patience, the masks, and the emotions. One scholar writes of Hamlet, he is the most aware and knowing figure ever conceived, and we have the illusion that nothing is lost on this fictive personage. No one is ever going to call Hamlet the joyous Dane, but a consciousness so continuously alive at every point cannot be categorized simply as melancholy. Like Hamlet, Shakespeare's own time was out of joint. It was the death of the world as they knew it, with feudalism, and the beginnings of capitalism. The transition brought with it great social unrest, oppression, homelessness. Think of Robin Hood in the forest. For the first time, many people were homeless, and it was against the law to be a vagabond. But when it came to relief, it was the law's delay. So what happened? Again, it was the beginnings of capitalism. Not quite Silicon Valley just yet, but sheep. Lots and lots of sheep and wool production. Think of little boy Peep. He can take care of a lot of sheep. So the farmers were simply forced off the land and into wage labor, which was little better than slavery. And even that was often temporary. This was all done legally. Talk about the insolence of office. In Shakespeare's As You Like It, a shepherd speaks, "My master is of a churlish disposition, and little recks to find heaven by doing deeds of hospitality." In Shakespeare's Macbeth, greed is described as my more having would be as a sauce to make me hunger more. Sir Thomas More described the times in his book Utopia as sheep devouring men. And one famous poem of the time said sheep have eaten up our meadows and our downs our corn, our woods, whole villages and towns. But the reverse, a man eating sheep, was not allowed. If a man stole a sheep worth 2 shillings, this was twice the amount needed at 1 shilling or 1 day's worth of labor to qualify for the death penalty. On the legal records, one man stole and with his family ate a sheep, and he confessed and said that he did it, having a wife and 7 small children, and being hungry. They actually identified him as the thief because they found the skin of the sheep in his cottage, which had been eaten. Shakespeare describes something like this in his play Romeo and Juliet. Famine is in thy cheeks, need and oppression starveth in thy eyes. Contempt and beggary hang on thy back. The world is not thy friend, nor the world's law. Shakespeare describes the people as having to grunt and sweat under a weary life, and the spurns or jabs that they take from the unworthy. The patient, good people, like abused beasts of burden, deserve much praise, virtue, and merit. But eventually the people did rise up and demand justice. But the ruling class broke all negotiations with them, and it turned out to be a grotesque display of insulting words and actions, the proud man's contumely. And with the having of foreign mercenaries to crush the people and end their pursuit of justice with bloodshed, the oppressor's wrong. Shakespeare, in his infinite wisdom, realizes that the most important thing that we see when we look at the world is ourself. And this passage in the soliloquy unites what is a negative sense of the self. Shakespeare was very aware of what the philosopher George Herbert Mead identified as the way we have a sense of ourself, by seeing how one is reflected in the eyes of others. We are all interlinked, and our sense of self is formed through the evaluations of others. It is simply how the world works. There is no true self apart from the social self, and the social self exists through these interactions with other people. And we seek out, or what drives us, is to have a positive sense of self. And in severe cases, a negative sense can cause us to withdraw, and in radical ways, sometimes even suicide. Shakespeare ends this section with the liberty of laying to rest or a quietus of life simply with a bare bodkin or dagger. I will read the lines once more. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life, for who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of disprized love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, and the spurns that patient merit of the unworthy takes, when he himself might his quietus make with a bare bodkin.